Come to a comfortable seated position, allowing your sit bones to ground down onto the mat. Your legs can be in any position. If they're crossed, they can be out straight, whatever you're comfortable with. Allow your spine to stack, allowing the crown of your head to go up towards the ceiling. Your arms resting comfortably in your lap or on your thighs. And then inhaling through your nose, and as you exhale, just allow your eyes to close, coming into a couple of moments of mindful breathing. Allowing that breath to slow you down as you inhale and you exhale. Try to get out of that hurry you have all day by focusing on that breath coming in and going out. As thoughts come into your mind that want to make you rush or speed up, just acknowledge them, but brush them aside and come back to that breath to allow yourself to slow down, to feel the moment. Then inhaling deeply, allow those eyes to come open. And then exhale through your nose. Inhale through your nose. And exhale through your nose. Inhale through your nose. And exhale through your nose. Inhale through your nose. And exhale through your nose. Inhaling through your nose, pausing. And as you exhale, allow your hands to ground down on your mat, your shoulders coming over those wrists, and then allow your knees to come underneath your hips, coming into all fours, tabletop pose. Thinking of the crown of your head to pull forward towards the front of the room and your tailbone to pull towards the back of the room, having a long, straight spine. In tabletop, we engage our core so our body is still. Then I want you to inhale, allowing your head to come forward, your heart to come forward, and your belly to drop. Tailbone rises to cow pose. And then exhale, chin to chest, spine high, tail drops. Inhale, gaze forward, heart forward, belly down. Exhale, chin to chest, spine high. Inhale, gaze forward, heart forward, belly down. Exhale, chin to chest, spine high. Inhale back to that neutral tabletop pose. And then turn that right hand out 90 degrees, that left hand out 90 degrees, and maybe sway from side to side over those wrists. Maybe swaying forward and back. If it's in your practice, go ahead and turn your hands another 90 degrees so that those fingertips are pointing towards your knees, and maybe start doing circles over those wrists. First to the right, and then to the left. Then allowing those hands to come forward again, maybe shake them out, and then place your hands flat on your mat. Your fingertips spread wide, your forefinger and middle finger pointing towards the front, pressing down into the pads of your fingers and into the heel of your palm. As you inhale, tuck those toes And as you exhale, allow those knees to hover. Inhaling in this pose, engaging that core, and then as you exhale, bring your chest back to your thighs, knees hovered. Inhale forward, shoulders over wrists. And as you exhale, chest back to thighs. Inhale forward, shoulders over wrists. Exhale, chest back to thighs. Inhale in this pose, and as you exhale, allow those hips to come up and back, coming into downward facing dog. Taking time here, it's our first down dog, and start bending your knees one after the other, starting to walk the dog, getting movement in your ankles, in your knees, all the way up into your hips. Checking on your hands here, making sure they're shoulder width apart. Inhale, allow your hips to rise, heels to rise. And as you exhale, allow those heels to drop off towards the right side of your mat, feeling that stretch in that left side body as you keep your hips high. Inhale your feet back to center, hips high, heels high. And as you exhale, allow your heels to drop off towards the left side of your mat, feeling that stretch in that right side body. Inhale your feet back to center, hips high, heels high. And as you exhale, allow those heels to drop down towards the mat. The intention is the heels are towards the mat. They don't have to be on the mat. Again, your hands are shoulder width apart. Your shoulder blades are pulled together and up your spine. Your spine is long and straight, extending up into your hips. Your heels are pressed down towards the mat. Your legs are as straight as you find them comfortable, pushing up into your hips, and your tailbone is pointing up towards the ceiling. This is downward facing dog. Inhale forward to plank, shoulders over wrists, hips shoulder height, and then exhale, hips up and back, downward facing dog. Inhale forward in the plank. Exhale, hips up and back, downward facing dog. Inhale forward in the plank. Exhale, hips up and back, downward facing dog. Allowing your gaze to come forward of your fingertips, coming up onto your toes, bending your knees, and then tiptoe towards the front of your mat, coming into forward fold. Allowing the crown of your head to start reaching down towards the mat. Allowing those hands either to dangle, brushing the mat, or maybe grabbing opposite elbows, coming into ragdoll, and you can sway from side to side. Do whatever you need to feel that spine just lengthen down as it waterfalls over your thighs. If it's in your practice, go ahead and release those elbows and sweep those hands up behind your hips, interlacing your fingers, and then pull those hands towards the front of the mat, feeling a slight shoulder opener. And then go ahead and release your hands, allowing them to come down onto the mat about 12 to 18 inches in front of your feet, and then bend your knees, drop your hips, and come into a squat at the front of your mat. Again, allowing that spine just to round over your knees, to allow that spine just to get a little more lengthening, getting ready for this practice. Then inhale, allow those hips to raise. And as you exhale, come into forward fold. Inhale, hands sweep high, coming into high mountain, and then exhale, engage that core. Inhale, press down into that right foot as those right fingertips reach high, finding length in that right side body, and then exhale, release. As you inhale, press into that left foot, that left hand reaches high, that left side body extends, and then exhale, release. As you inhale, press down into both feet, allowing both hands to reach up towards the sky. Maybe your gaze comes high, maybe your heart comes high into a slight back bend, and then bring those hands together and hands to heart center. And get ready to set an intention. Find some thought, some concept, some person that will help carry you through this class. If you don't have an intention, maybe set the intention to focus on slowing your life so you can observe as time passes. Inhaling deeply and then exhale. Inhale one more time, as deep as you can. And then when you exhale through that nose, setting that intention out to surround you, to carry you through this practice. And then release those hands down, coming into mountain pose. Inhale, hands sweep high, hands come together, and then through heart center to forward fold. Inhale, halfway, hands to shin, flat back. Exhale, forward fold, plant the hands, right foot steps back, lunge. As you inhale, set that foundation, ensuring that left knee is over that left ankle, that right heel up towards that ceiling. Your right leg is long and straight, extending into a long, straight spine. Your gaze comes forward, your heart comes forward, and maybe those fingertips hover off the mat. And then as you exhale, you plant your hands, that left foot steps back to meet the right, downward facing dog. Inhale forward in the plank pose. And as you exhale, slowly lower down onto the mat, allowing those elbows to graze your ribs, and then untuck your toes. Bringing those hands underneath your shoulders, your elbows pointing towards the back of the room. As you inhale, allow your head to lift, your heart to lift, your gaze coming to the top of your mat, coming into baby cobra. Maybe taking a sip of air, allowing those shoulders to lift just a little bit more, and then exhale your forehead down onto the mat. Inhale up into all fours, tabletop pose. And as you exhale, allow your hips to come back to your heels, your toes to come together. Your body comes long along those thighs. Your arms are long and straight. They can be resting on the mat or energized, coming into child's pose. This is a pose of rest and relaxation, a pose where you can come to reset your breath, reset your intention. As you inhale, tuck those toes, press into those hands, and as you exhale, allow your hips to come up and back, downward facing dog. Inhale, that right foot sweeps high, hips stay level. And as you exhale, bring that knee to your nose and hold. And then right foot to right thumb, lunge. As you inhale, again, set that foundation, checking to make sure that right knee is over that right ankle. That left heel pulling up towards the ceiling, that left leg long and straight, extending into that long, straight spine, gaze forward, heart forward, coming into lunge. And then as you exhale, plant your hands, your left foot steps forward to meet the right, forward fold. Inhale, hands sweeping high, hands come together, and then through heart center to forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, hands to shin, flat back. Exhale, forward fold, plant the hands, left foot steps back, lunge. As you inhale, think of setting that foundation, and as you exhale, allow your hips to come back as you straighten that left leg. Inhale forward into lunge. Exhale, hips back, leg straight. Inhale forward into lunge. Exhale, hips back, leg straight. Inhale forward into lunge. And as you exhale, you plant your hands, that right foot steps back to meet the left, downward facing dog. Inhale forward in the plank pose. And as you exhale, slowly lower all the way down onto the mat, untucking your toes, bringing those hands about halfway down your rib cage. As you inhale, lift your head, your heart, and your belly, those elbows pulling back towards the back of the room, your shoulder blades pulling down your spine, coming into cobra pose. And as you exhale, allow your forehead to come down onto your mat. Tucking your toes, energizing your legs so that your knees lift as you inhale. And as you exhale, allow yourself to press up into plank and then downward facing dog. Inhale, that left foot sweeps high, your hips stay level. And as you exhale, your left knee comes to your nose, holds, and then left foot to left thumb, lunge. As you inhale, set the lunge, and as you exhale, allow your hips to come back, that left leg straightens in the pulsing lunges. Inhale forward in the lunge. Exhale, hips back, legs straight. Inhale forward in the lunge. Exhale, hips back, legs straight. Inhale forward in the lunge. And as you exhale, plant your hands, your right foot steps forward to meet the left, forward fold. Checking your feet to make sure they're 5 to 8 inches apart. Then inhale, allow your hands to sweep up. And then as you exhale, engage that core. As you inhale, think of allowing that heart to lift up towards the ceiling. And as you exhale, allow those shoulder blades to come down those ribs. As you inhale, allow that heart to lift just a little bit more. And as you exhale, come a little bit deeper for 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale back up in the center. And as you exhale, bend your knees, drop your hips. Hands stay high in chair pose. If this bothers your shoulders, go ahead and bring your hands down to your heart. As you inhale, think of making that spine as straight as possible. And as you exhale, allow yourself to come a little bit deeper. As you inhale, you find the edge of that chair. And as you exhale, allow those hands to come down, your hips to lift, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, hands to shin, flat back. Exhale, forward fold, right foot steps back, lunge. As you inhale, find that foundation of your lunge, and as you exhale, bring those arms alongside your body, hands facing down. Inhale, slowly sweep up into crescent. Exhale, tilt forward, arms alongside the body. Inhale, hands sweep high into crescent. Exhale, tilt forward, arms alongside the body. Inhale, hands sweep up into crescent. Pause here, take a sip of air. Maybe that heart lifts a little higher. And then as you exhale, allow those hands to come down, frame that front foot. That left foot steps back to meet the right, downward facing dog. Inhale forward in the plank pose. And as you exhale, slowly lower down halfway until those elbows come alongside those ribs. Chaturanga. Then inhale, back up in the plank. And then exhale, slowly lower all the way down onto the mat, untucking those toes. Bring those hands down to where the bottom of your rib cage is, your wrist directly underneath your elbows. And as you inhale, lift your head, your heart, and your hips off the mat, pulling the heart through your biceps, coming into upward facing dog. And then as you exhale, allow your hips to come up and back as you roll over those toes, coming downward facing dog. Inhale, that right foot sweeps high. Exhale, that right foot, the right thumb. As you inhale, find that foundation, and as you exhale, allow your hips to come back as you straighten that right leg. Side forward fold. Holding for 3, 2, 1. Inhale forward in the lunge, and as you exhale, that left foot steps forward to meet the right, forward fold. Inhale, bend your knees, drop your hips, hands sweep high, chair pose. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, hands to shin. Exhale, forward fold, plant the hands, left foot steps back, lunge. As you inhale, set that lunge, and as you exhale, your arms come alongside your body, hands facing down. Inhale, slowly sweep up in the crescent. Exhale, tilt forward, arms alongside the body. Inhale, sweep up in the crescent. Exhale, tilt forward, arms alongside the body. Inhale, hands sweep up in the crescent, pausing here, taking that sip of air, allowing that heart to lift just a little higher. And then exhale, allow those hands to come down, frame the front foot, that right foot steps back to meet the left, downward facing dog. Inhale forward in the plank pose. And as you exhale, slowly lower down halfway to chaturanga. Inhale, pulling yourself forward to upward facing dog. And then exhale, hips up and back, downward facing dog. Staying here for 3 breaths. Remember, these are your options for your flow. You can do baby cobra to all fours to downward facing dog. You can do cobra to plank to down dog. Or you can do up dog to down dog. You choose what your body calls for tonight. Inhale, that left foot sweeps high. Exhale, that left foot, the left thumb, lunge. As you inhale, find the foundation, and as you exhale, allow those hips to come back as you straighten that left leg. As you inhale, think of pulling that spine long and straight, and then as you exhale, allow yourself to fold over that straight leg for 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale forward in the lunge. And as you exhale, that right foot steps forward to meet the left, forward fold. Bending your knees, dropping your hips, hands sweeping high, chair pose. Exhale, forward fold. Plant your hands, set your shoulders, seal your core, coming up onto your toes and bending your knees. Maybe you bring those feet back 6 to 8 inches, and then you can step or jump back to chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog, and then exhale, downward facing dog. Remembering when you jump back to come back to chaturanga with those elbows bent so you don't hurt those shoulders. Inhale, that right foot sweeps high. Exhale, that right foot to right thumb. Allow that left heel to drop in and down so that your toes are pointing off at 10 o'clock. And then inhale, allow those arms and shoulders to come up over your hips. That right knee is over that right ankle. Your hips are forward, your heart is forward. Your gaze is forward. Your shoulder blades are pulled together as those fingertips reach high. As you inhale, coming a little higher. And then as you exhale, allow that right arm to come forward, that left arm coming back, and your hips shift towards the left side of the room as that back foot comes parallel to the back of your mat. As you inhale, think of the crown of your head lifting high. That heart is directly over those hips. Your gaze comes over those front fingertips. And then flip that front hand, reach a little forward, and then sweep it up as that left hand comes down that left leg or comes into the bind. As you inhale, think of reaching those right fingertips a little bit further back, feeling that stretch from that right hip all the way up through those right fingertips. And then as you exhale, allow yourself to come into Warrior Two, and then windmill those hands down, planting on either side of that front foot, and then bring that left hand down underneath that left shoulder, coming up onto those left toes, that right hand to your right hip, and then allow that right hand to reach high, coming into lunge twist. As you inhale, think of pulling those shoulder blades together, allowing that heart to come a little higher. And then as you exhale, plant that hand down, stepping back into plank chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, that left foot sweeps high. Exhale, that left foot to left thumb. Allowing that right heel to drop in and down, those right toes pointing off at 2 o'clock as you inhale. Allow those arms and shoulders to come up over those hips. Your hips are facing forward, your heart is forward, your shoulder blades are pulling down and together as those fingertips reach high. Feeling that opposing pull on your body. As you inhale, you allow that spine to lengthen just a little higher. And then as you exhale, allow that left arm to come forward, that right arm back, your hips turning towards the right side of the room, coming into Warrior Two. Again, think of those shoulders being over your hips, those shoulder blades pulling together as you reach those fingertips just a little bit wider. As you inhale, think of finding a little more reach, flipping that front hand, and then as you exhale, allow that hand to sweep up towards the ceiling, that right arm down your thigh or binding. As you inhale, think of reaching back a little bit further, trying to feel that pull on that left side body from the hip all the way through those fingertips. And then as you exhale, coming through Warrior Two to windmill your hands down, allowing that right foot to come up onto your right toes, and then plant that right hand underneath the right shoulder, that left hand to your left hip, and then allow that left hand to reach high towards the ceiling into that lunge twist. And then as you exhale, plant the hand, step back, plank chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Allowing your gaze to come forward of your fingertips, coming up onto your toes, bending your knees. Step, walk, or jump to the front of your mat, forward fold. Bending your knees, dropping your hips, inhaling to chair pose. Exhale, forward fold, plant the hands, set the shoulders, seal the core, and then step, walk, or jump to the back of the mat, chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, that right foot sweeps high. Exhale, that right foot to right thumb. Inhale, warrior one. Exhale, warrior two. Inhale that left hip back as you straighten that right leg, and then reach those right fingertips forward and then tilt, allowing yourself to find standing triangle. Thinking of keeping that spine long and straight, that core is engaged. Again, pull those shoulder blades together as those fingertips reach wide to allow that heart to twist up towards the ceiling. Then bringing a slight bend into that front leg, allow that left arm to pull you upright, and then back as you sweep that right arm up and over that right ear, finding the reverse triangle. Your hips come forward so you find that long straight line from those right toes all the way up through those right fingertips. You inhale, finding just a little more length, a little more stretch, and then as you exhale, bend that front knee, allowing that right forearm onto that right knee as you sweep that left arm up and over that left ear, coming into extended side angle. You can stay here. You can allow that right arm to reach towards the floor, to reach out directly in front of your heart, or maybe parallel those ears to challenge your core. And then as you exhale, allow your hands to come down, framing that front foot, allowing that left knee to come down onto the mat. As you inhale, allow the arms and shoulders to come up over your hips. Your hands come together, your hands come to heart center. Twisting towards the right side of the room, allow that left elbow to find that right knee, coming into low lunge prayer twist. Staying here or tucking those back toes under, coming into lunge prayer twist. Or if it's in your practice, go ahead and fly those arms apart to allow that heart to lift just a little higher towards the ceiling. And then as you exhale, allow yourself to frame that front foot, step back, plank chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, that left foot sweeps high. Exhale, that left foot to left thumb. Inhale, warrior one. Exhale, warrior two. Inhale those right hips back as you straighten that left leg, reaching forward with those left fingertips. Allow yourself to tilt, allowing that hand to come to your shin or to the mat or to a block, coming into standing triangle. Again, think of keeping that core engaged so that your side body doesn't collapse down towards that thigh. Think of pulling the crown of your head a little bit further towards the front of the room. Then bringing a slight bend into that front knee, allow that right arm to pull you upright, and then sweep that left arm up and over that left ear as you reverse that triangle. Again, shift those hips forward so that you find that long straight line from your toes all the way through those fingertips. As you inhale, think of reaching back further, feeling more of that stretch in that side body. And then as you exhale, bend that front knee, allowing that left forearm to come onto that left knee as that right arm sweeps up and over that right ear. Again, staying here or allowing that arm to come forward of your heart, or maybe paralleling those ears to challenge that core. Again, think of that spine being long and straight though. And then allow those hands to come down, frame that front foot, popping up onto those right toes, and allow that right knee to come down onto the mat. Inhale, your hands sweep high, hands come together, and then to heart center. Twisting towards the right side of the room, or left side of the room, allow that right elbow to find that left knee, coming into low lunge prayer twist. Staying there or tucking those back toes, lifting that knee, coming into lunge prayer twist, or possibly flying those arms apart, whatever your body calls for. And then allow those hands to come down, frame that front foot, step back, plank, chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Allowing your gaze to come forward to those fingertips, coming up onto your toes, bending your knees, step, walk, or jump to the front of the mat, forward fold. As you inhale, bend your knees, drop your hips, hands sweep high, chair pose. Exhale, forward fold. Plant the hands, set the shoulders, seal the core, and then jump back to chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. And then exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, that right foot sweeps high. Exhale, that right foot steps halfway forward. Allow that left heel to come down as you straighten that right leg. Then inhale, allow those hands to sweep high. And then release those hands coming behind your hips, interlacing your fingers or binding your elbows. As you inhale, think of lifting that heart high. And as you exhale, allow yourself to tilt halfway forward. As you inhale, think of shifting that right hip back, that left hip forward, and then exhale, allow yourself to tilt just a little bit deeper. For 3, 2, 1. Releasing your hands. Inhale, sweeping high, shoulders and arms over those hips. And then as you exhale, allow that left arm to come forward, that right arm back, coming into standing twist. As you inhale, think of the crown of your head coming higher, making sure you're directly over those hips. And as you exhale, allow yourself to twist a little bit deeper so you can see that right thumb. Inhale, allow your gaze to come forward, your heart to come forward, arms sweep overhead, and then release that right hand down onto that right hip. Inhaling, allowing that heart to lift high, and as you exhale, allow yourself to tilt halfway, and then release that left hand down onto a block or onto the mat or onto the top of your foot. Then stack those shoulders, and when you find that twist from your hip to those stacked shoulders, allow that right arm to sweep high, coming in the revolved triangle. And then release that hand down, step back, plank chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, that left foot sweeps high. Exhale, that left foot steps halfway forward. Allow that right heel to come down as you straighten that left leg. Inhale, your arms and your shoulders up over those hips, and then release those hands down behind your hips, binding your fingers or your hands, your elbows. Inhale, lifting your heart, and as you exhale, allow yourself to tilt halfway forward. Think of pulling that right hip forward, that left hip back, and then allow yourself to tilt just a little bit more. Then releasing those hands, inhale, sweeping high, and as you exhale, allow that right arm to come forward, that left arm back, coming into standing twist. As you inhale, think of that spine being tall, reaching up towards the ceiling, and as you exhale, allow yourself to twist just a little bit more. As you inhale, allow those arms to sweep up overhead as your gaze and your heart comes forward, and then release that left hand down onto that left hip. As you inhale, think of that heart lifting, and as you exhale, allow yourself to tilt halfway forward. And then release that hand down onto a block, onto the top of your foot, or even onto your shin. And then stack those shoulders and allow that left arm to sweep high, finding revolved triangle. And then release that left hand down onto the mat, step back, plank, chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Allowing those knees to come down onto the mat, your hips to come back to your heels, coming into child's pose. Taking a moment here to towel off, get a drink. And then meeting me again in child's pose. As you inhale, you press those hands into the mat and you tuck those toes. And as you exhale, allow your hips to come up and back, downward facing dog. Inhale, that right foot sweeps high. Exhale, that right foot to right thumb. Allowing that left knee to come down onto the mat. Walk that right foot out to the right edge of the mat and allow that right hand to come inside that right foot. Then allow those hips to come forward and down, coming into lizard pose. You can stay here with your hands firmly planted, or you can come down onto your forearms. You can stay there, or you can tuck those back toes, lifting that left knee. Or you can even rock forward and back. Anything you need to open up those hip flexors to overcome all the sitting we do. And then if your knee is lifted, allow that knee to come down onto the mat. Coming up onto your hands, lifting those shoulders, and then walk that right foot into the center of your mat. Allowing your hips to come back over that grounded knee as you straighten that right leg, that right toes flexed up towards the ceiling, coming into half splits. If full splits are in your practice, go ahead and come into them now. Otherwise, allow yourself to fold over that straight front leg and maybe walk those fingers out a little bit more. If you're in full split, start working your way out. Everybody else, go ahead and allow that right knee to come over that right ankle. As you inhale, allow your arms and your shoulders to come up over those hips, and then release that right hand onto that right knee. That left hand can stay high or it can come to your low back to protect it. As you inhale, allow that heart to reach up towards the ceiling, and as you exhale, allow those shoulder blades to come down your ribs. As you inhale, allow that heart to come a little bit higher, and maybe you allow one hand to come up, both hands to come up. And then inhale back up in the center. And as you exhale, frame that front foot, step back, downward facing dog. Inhale, that left foot sweeps high. Exhale, that left foot to left thumb. Allow that right knee to come down onto the mat. Walk that left foot out to the left edge of your mat, and allow that left hand to come onto the inside of that left foot. And then allow your hips to come forward and down, coming into lizard pose. Again, you can come onto your forearms. You can come onto a block. You can tuck that back toe to lift that knee and your hip. Find whatever variations you did on the other side, and find what feels good to you. If your knee is lifted, go ahead and let it come back down onto the mat. Coming up onto your hands, walk that left foot back into the center of your mat as your hands frame that front foot. Then allow your hips to come back over that grounded right knee, coming into half splits. As you inhale, think of lengthening that spine, and as you exhale, allow yourself to maybe walk those fingertips just a little bit further forward. If you're in full split, start working your way out. Otherwise, everybody else, allow that left knee to come over that left ankle. As you inhale, allow those arms and shoulders to sweep up over your hips. And then release that left hand down onto that left knee. That right hand stays high or comes to that low back to protect it. As you inhale, allow that heart to lift high, and as you exhale, allow those shoulder blades to come down your ribs. As you inhale, maybe one hand reaches high, maybe both hands reach high, and as you exhale, allow yourself to come just a little bit deeper. Then inhaling back up in the center, and as you exhale, plank your hands, that left foot steps back to meet the right, downward facing dog. Coming up onto your toes, bending your knees, allow that gaze to come forward of your fingertips. You can step, walk, or jump to the front of the mat, coming into a forward fold. As you inhale, allow those hands to sweep high. And as you exhale, allow that right arm to sweep underneath the left, crossing at the elbows, and then binding the hands or grabbing the shoulders. As you inhale, find length in the body, and as you exhale, bend your knees, drop your hips, and then shift that weight onto that left foot as that right leg comes up and over the left, coming into eagle pose. Finding a stationary spot in front of you, think of that spine growing tall, and as you exhale, allow your hips to come a little bit lower. As you inhale, think of lifting those elbows shoulder height, and as you exhale, allow those hips to come a little bit lower. Then inhale, untangle everything, and release that right foot down. And then that left arm sweeps underneath the right, crossing at the elbows, binding the hands. Inhale, find length. And as you exhale, bend your knees, drop your hips, shifting that weight onto that right foot. Inhale that left leg up and over the right, finding eagle. As you inhale, think of that spine pulling towards the back of the room, and as you exhale, those hips come a little bit lower. Again, think of lifting those elbows, and as you exhale, allow those hips to come a little bit deeper. Then inhale, untangle everything, and as you exhale, release that left foot down. And allow that right hand to come down to your right hip, that left hand faces forward. Bending that right knee, reach down, grabbing the inside of that right foot with that right hand, that thumb pointing towards your toes. Inhale, think of finding length, and as you exhale, kick into that hand. As you inhale, continue to reach, and as you exhale, continue to kick until eventually that body comes parallel to the floor, your gaze over those left fingertips, and then gently release and windmill those hands. Right arm forward, left hand at the left hip. Bending that left knee, catching the inside of that left foot with that left hand. Inhale, find length, and exhale, kick. As you inhale, think of the length in the body, and as you exhale, continue to kick until eventually that left foot comes over your head, your gaze comes over those right fingertips. And then gently release. Inhale, your hands sweep high. And as you exhale, your hands come through heart center to forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, hands to chin, flat back. Exhale, forward fold, plant the hands, set the shoulders. You can flow back to downward facing dog or walk back to downward facing dog. And then allow those knees to come down onto the mat, your toes to come together, your hips back to your heels, coming into child's pose. Taking another moment to towel off, get a drink. We'll do our inversion next, dolphin or forearm stand. There's wall space if you'd like to use it. Yeah, don't do it. Yeah, I'm thinking of a good, you could come to do your inversion, just come into a separate leg stretch and allow yourself to come into a forward fold. That way you at least have your head down doing the inversion. Come into all fours, tabletop pose. Bringing those elbows down underneath your shoulders, making sure those elbows are shoulder width apart. Tuck your toes, allow those hips to come up. Then take 2 steps forward, bringing those hips higher over those shoulders. This is dolphin pose. This pose is a great pose to get yourself ready. Inhale, that right leg sweeps high, thinking of keeping that right leg as straight as possible. Bend that left knee and then kick that left heel up to your left hip, keeping that right leg as straight as possible. Allowing that gaze to come down onto the mat between your hands. If you keep your gaze down, it allows you to get that balance a little bit better. And then allow yourself to come back down into child's pose or into all fours. Making sure those elbows come underneath those shoulders, tuck those toes. Take 2 steps forward, coming into that dolphin pose. As you inhale, sweep that left leg long and straight. And then bend that right knee and kick that left heel up to that right heel up to the right hip. And keeping those gaze down towards the mat. Think of pressing those heels up towards the ceiling, engaging that core. and then release down. Finding child's pose. Pressing your fingertips into the mat, tucking your toes along your hips to come up and back, downward facing dog. Maybe taking a couple of steps forward, bending your knees, allowing the gaze to come forward, and then jump your knees through your arms, coming seated on your mat. Allowing those feet to come down flat onto the mat, your knees bent, your hands come behind those shins. Allowing yourself to come up, shins parallel to the mat. Flex those toes, release those hands on either side, your heart reaching up towards the ceiling, coming into boat pose. Maybe you straighten those legs, and then allow yourself to come down to a hover for 4, 3, 2, 1, and then release yourself down onto the mat. Point your toes towards the bottom of your mat. Reach your hands high, finding that morning stretch. And then bring your hands behind your head. And then engage your core and lift those shoulders. Keeping those toes pointed. Lift that right foot 15 degrees and reach that left elbow towards that right foot. And then release. And then lift that left foot, right elbow towards the left foot, and then release. And we'll repeat for 8, 7, 6, ensuring you keep that core engaged. 3, 2, 1. Then pull those knees into your chest, rocking from side to side. And then allow those feet to come up towards the ceiling. Flex your feet as if you're trying to set them up on the ceiling, and then reach your hands up towards the ceiling. Hover those shoulders, and we'll reach towards the ceiling for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Pull those knees into your chest again, cross at the ankles, roll the length of your spine 2 or 3 times until you come to seated, plant the hands, and then you can step or jump back to plank. And then release yourself down onto the mat. Reaching those arms long alongside your body, hands pressing into the mat, the tops of your feet into the mat, your hips into the mat. As you inhale, lift your head, your heart, coming into half locust. Pressing in your feet into the tops of the mat, lift those shoulders just a little bit more, those hands still planted. And then exhale, forehead down onto the mat. Crawling those fingertips back just a little bit more. Think of pressing the tops of your feet into the mat, your hips into the mat, your hands in the mat, and then inhale, lift your head and your heart. Then allow those toes to hover. Allow those hands to hover. As you inhale, think of those shoulders coming a little bit higher, your heels coming a little bit higher, those hands coming a little bit higher, and hold, and then release down onto the mat, left cheek to the mat. Now we've done the front of our core and the back of our core. Walk those hands forward until those elbows come underneath your shoulders, lifting your body, your upper body high, coming into Sphinx pose. Think of pressing the tops of your feet into the mat. Think of pressing your hip into the mat. And allow those shoulders to lift high, and then pull those hearts in between those biceps. Think of pulling those shoulder blades down your spine to allow that shoulders to lift high as those shoulder blades pull a little bit deeper. Think of pulling those elbows back towards your rib or hips, your hips forward towards your elbows, that heart pulling just a little bit further between those biceps. And then release your forehead down onto the mat, right cheek to the mat. Inhaling up into all fours, tabletop pose. Allow your knees to come out as wide as your mat, your toes to come together, and then allow your hips to come back to your heels. Walk those hands back behind those heels, your fingertips facing towards the back of the room or the side of the room. As you inhale, think of allowing your hips to lift up towards the ceiling as you press those shins onto the mat. As you inhale, allow that heart to lift a little higher towards the ceiling and those thighs to pull towards the front of the room. Press those shins into the mat. Allow that heart to lift just a little bit higher. And then as you exhale, allow your hips to come back to your heels, coming seated on those heels. Bringing those knees hip-width apart now. Tucking those toes, come standing on your knees. Bringing those hands to your hips where your jeans pockets would be. As you inhale, think of lifting that heart up towards the ceiling. And as you exhale, think of pulling those biceps down to those forearms. As you inhale, think of that heart lifting a little bit higher. And as you exhale, allow those shoulder blades to come a little bit deeper. Maybe you allow one hand to reach down for a heel. Maybe both hands down to the heel. Then think of pulling those hips forward so that they stay over those knees. That heart reaching up towards the ceiling. And then start working one hand back up to your hip, the other hand back to your hip. And then allow those hips to come back to your heels. You can come into all fours, tabletop, and do a couple of cat and cows. You can allow yourself just around that spine over your thighs in child's pose, whatever you need to get that back if you need it after those back bends. Then pressing those hands into the mat, tuck those toes, and allow your hips to come up and back. Downward facing dog. Inhale, that right foot sweeps high. Exhale, that right knee behind the right wrist. That right foot comes to the left side of your mat. That foot is flexed to keep it safe. And then walk that left foot back towards the back of the mat. And then your hands back along either side of your hips, finding that height in your spine as your body is there. Maybe you pull that left hip forward, that right hip back, and lifting those hips so that you can float those arms behind you, hovering over those hips. And then release your hands down, walking those hands forward. Allow yourself to fold over that leg coming into resting pigeon. Taking time here to slow down, to feel into the body, to feel that heart rate slow, allow that breath to slow. All through life, we hurry. But Mahatma Gandhi said that if we just slow our life and not hurry, then we actually have a life. If we tuck those left toes under, bringing those hands underneath our shoulders, pushing our shoulders up. As you inhale, pull that right knee up into your heart, and then kick that leg up into three-legged dog. And then allow that foot to come down, downward facing dog. Inhale, that left foot sweeps high. And as you exhale, allow that left knee to come behind the left wrist, that left foot behind, on the right side of your mat, that foot is flexed. Then walk those hands back on either side of your hips, allowing that right leg to come back a little bit further. Hover those hips, finding just a little bit height, feeling that strength which helps protect you. And then allow those hands to come down and walk forward, allowing those hips to come down closer to the mat. Taking this time just to slow down, just to enjoy the moment. Feeling that breath guiding you to a moment of calm. And working those hands underneath those shoulders. As you lift those shoulders, then tuck those right toes and lift that left knee up into your heart and sweep that leg up and back in the three-legged dog. And then finding downward facing dog, and then allow your knees to come down onto the mat, and then sweep those legs forward, coming seated at the front of your mat. Your legs are long and straight, your toes are flexed up towards the ceiling. Inhale, allow that body to sweep high, and then tilt from the hips, allowing yourself to fold over those straight front legs, releasing those hands to your feet, to your ankles, to your shins, and just allow that spine to round over those front legs, just as if you were in a standing forward fold. Then release those hands and allow that spine just to roll up, right. Then bring those hands up in front of you, facing one another, and then allow yourself to roll back down onto the mat. Pulling those knees into your chest, and then release that right leg long. Pull that left knee into that left shoulder, and then gently release. Pull that left knee into the center of your chest, and then with that right hand, pull that left knee over towards the right side of your body as that left arm goes long, and your gaze comes over those left fingertips to keep your shoulders flat, coming into this gentle twist. If you want to find a little more twist, maybe you take that right hand to that left hip and then just pull it along that thigh to allow yourself to feel just a little more. Then allow your gaze to come up towards the ceiling, your hips to roll flat. Pull both knees back into your chest, and then allow that left leg to go long. Pull that right knee into that right shoulder, and then release it to the center. With that left hand, pull that right knee over to the left side of your body as that right arm goes long alongside, your gaze coming over those right fingertips as you find that gentle twist. Then allow your gaze to come up towards the ceiling, your hips to roll flat, and pull those knees one more time into your chest. But pull them so tight that your forehead comes to those knees. Tighten every muscle in that body as you pull yourself up. And then release your shoulders down. Release your feet flat onto the mat, your knees bent. And then allow your knees to drop out to the side, the soles of your feet coming together, coming into reclined bound pose. Your arms can be alongside your body. One hand can come to your heart, one hand to your belly, whatever you find comfortable. Feeling that breath slow just a little bit more. And then from here, you can allow that right foot to find the right corner of your mat, that left foot to find the left corner of your mat. Your arms long alongside your body. Allow yourself to come into the final pose of the practice, Shavasana.